The Center for Unhindered Living presents Plus Size Polyamory with Judy and Alan, where our motto is, don't follow the crowd, follow your heart. Hey everybody, thanks for joining us this morning. Hope you're having a great day so far. This is Judy. Alan is away today, but today we have the great and wonderful, fantastic Emma and Finn from Normalizing Nonmonogamy. Thanks for being here today, guys.
Thank you for having us.
And thank you for all those adjectives. Great, wonderful, and fantastic.
Right.
We don't get that kind of a welcome around here usually.
Oh my, well, I feel kind of special about your work because, I have to admit I haven't watched or listened to all of the podcasts, but I've listened to a lot of them. And when my husband and I first got into the lifestyle, yours was the first program that we really listened to for educational purposes. So I feel kind of sentimental about it,
Well, thank you.
Yeah.
So if there's anything that I'm going to ask that you feel is too personal, you don't have to answer. But we hope you will. Okay. Also, just to let everybody know, yesterday I did announce to all my Facebook groups that we were interviewing you today, and we did get a few listener questions that we'll do at the end. So those who gave me questions, you'll hear your questions at the end. So why don't you tell us first, how many episodes have you published so far of your podcast?
As of yesterday, it was 235, plus we had a couple of bonus episodes. So it's somewhere in the 250, 260, somewhere in there.
Wow, that's great. Okay. And so you've been doing this about how long?
4 years.
Yeah, almost 4 years exactly. So we've been doing at least one episode a week for 4 years.
Wow. Yeah, that's great. Okay. So can you tell us a little bit about why you first got into non-monogamy?
Yeah. So Finn and I got together in college, our freshman year of college, but we knew each other before that. So we were best friends in high school. And so it was kind of an, more natural transition to start dating. And after our first year of dating, we studied abroad. And while we were studying abroad, Finn brought it up to me of, we very much didn't want to limit each other in life, but we wanted to have new experiences, but we wanted to stay together. And so that was the whole premise of what he brought to me of what do you think about non-monogamy? And we didn't have all the terminology back then. It was what do you think about maybe sleeping with other people?
Okay.
So that was the initial catalyst back at the very beginning of our, a year into our relationship. And we were only 19 and 20 years old. So it was, it was about 17 years ago now that was the case.
Okay.
Yeah.
So
was
that because you had someone in mind already, or are you just proposing this in general?
No, there was nobody in mind. We didn't know anybody in the country, to be honest, because we were in Australia and we were there for about 3 or 4 months, and we didn't know anybody. And so it was really it was probably prompted by the fact that this was both of our first time of really getting out in the world. We grew up in a really small town. There wasn't very many people. Everybody knew everybody. And we both had one boyfriend, girlfriend in high school. And we just really didn't want, or I really didn't want to I didn't want to limit Emma, and I didn't want to be limited myself. And I think there was some element of this that for me, it's almost how can I trust that I am a good fit for Emma if she's never experienced anything else, right? And so some of this is my own insecurity, and some of it really is just I want her to experience everything she wants in life, and I frankly want the same freedom to do that, but I want to do it with her. We're our best friends at our core,
right?
And we love doing things together, and so why not do this together too?
Right. Okay. Well, that makes sense. Okay. So you mentioned that you were from a small town. Was your upbringing pretty conservative or pretty open and liberal, or what kind of upbringing did you guys have?
You go first.
My upbringing was interesting. So I went to Catholic school for kindergarten and first grade. And then we moved out of that town into another town not that far away. And I think Catholicism was, as best I understand it, and talking to my dad about it, like my parents made a promise to, I believe, my mom's parents that they would like get us baptized and keep us religious. And after we moved away from that town, it was like we did like maybe a year of like catechism, and then it was like, this is a lot of work. None of us really want to do this. It was really like pulling teeth every week, and we were just like, yeah. And it just kind of like faded away. And my family is really not religious at this point. There's nobody in my family that I know of that goes to church. I don't. So we weren't really religious, and my family was, I don't know, very like middle of the road in a lot of ways. Like politics were never really a thing that we talked about growing up. But looking back, like I see now, and I know now, like how liberal politically my dad is, and just open-minded about things. But also it's a weird sort of one of my dad's favorite sayings is like, it is what it is. And so he's very just kind of pragmatic about things. And if he's not interested in knowing about something, he's like, yeah, you do you, and I don't need to know about it. And so for us, we were always just sort of encouraged to like find our own way and do what works for us. And there was not a whole lot of like pressure in one way or another. There was a little bit to like go to college, and there was a little bit to like sort of what he wanted me to go into, or I would say better yet, he didn't want me to go into. So I always wanted to be a police officer growing up. And he was like, well, that seems pretty dangerous. And so like he guided me away from that. And I was like, okay, well, I'll do this other thing. And so I didn't really have a whole lot of influence on it. It was sort of just free range childhood in a lot of ways. But yeah, it was supportive, and I've always been supported by my family. And this really is no different.
Oh, that's great. Okay.
And for me, my background, my parents are very open-minded and very liberal. I was brought up though being exposed to different religions. I went to Christian school for many years, but my family never fit in those places. I was sent to a Christian school because of the education and where we lived, and that was the best. My parents were trying to make the best decision for my education.
Right.
But so I had a lot of exposure to conservative thinking, but my immediate family itself was very liberal leaning, and a lot of my extended family as well. And so it was just, I was always taught to be open-minded, be accepting, be kind. And those were the values that they like lead your life by, and of course respectful. And so those, I mean, it makes sense that we were able to question that in our relationship pretty early on, because we were both taught from an early age, like just don't be afraid to question things. Don't be afraid to think outside the box. Don't be afraid to just try new things. And so I'm very thankful for that in the way I was brought up, for sure.
Right. So it sounds like your upbringing really did help you, in this, that it helped you to be open-minded and considering different things than the status quo.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's great. I can definitely relate to the Christian school thing. I sent my kids got kicked out of Christian school because we didn't fit in. Which I don't regret at all, but it was just,
Yeah, we didn't fit in either, but it was like, I look back and it was a good experience. Like, I'm glad that that decision was made, and it was a good exposure for me too.
Right. Okay. That makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So when you first got into the lifestyle, did you have any inkling that would lead you to where you are today?
No, no, not at all.
Okay.
I mean, I don't think we knew what it would lead us to, but we knew it would lead us to adventure and fun experiences and maybe awkward experiences, but it would lead us to hopefully grow closer and find new experiences together. Would you agree?
Yeah, I think it's sometimes my approach to life is like, this seems like a good idea. Let's go for it. And like, we're together, we'll figure it out. And I think that's largely what we've done. I think we've also, it has tested us in a lot of ways to, you know, for the longest time, our relationship dynamic was very like, kind of looking for friends with benefits. We would maybe go on dates with other couples once a month, once every couple months. And sometimes that would turn into more, sometimes it wouldn't. Like it was very sort of just like blasé. And so like it was just a thing that like would inject fun into our lives. Like we would maybe, hey, let's go to the club this weekend, and we would get dressed up and go to the club, and it'd be a late night, and we just kind of have fun with it. And we always had like fun memories from those, and awkward memories and all of that. But it, you know, where we've kind of gone in the last year and a half is very much down like a polyamorous route, falling in love with other people and trying to navigate that. And that has really sort of blown the doors off of what we knew like as our relationship for a long time. And so we're definitely adjusting to that.
Okay.
Did we lose you?
No, I'm here.
Okay. Did you hear everything we said?
Yes,
Okay.
I heard everything you said.
Okay. You were frozen for
Okay.
a second.
Okay, but I heard every word, so
Perfect.
that's fine. Okay. So what would you say is the biggest challenge to living the non-monogamous lifestyle?
Oh, there's a lot, but it's like, I think for me, I mean, you can't be stagnant. Like you have to always push yourself to grow and learn and challenge ideas, challenge communication styles, learn, like it's challenging, but it's also very rewarding. Because you have to always be willing to be open-minded, be thinking outside the box, listen to somebody and show up for them and work together. I don't know. It's just, you have to be willing to be, have a lot of self-growth. I think that's what I'm trying to like distill it down to.
Well, and even
Right.
I would say like, even if you're not willing to, like, it's coming. Like you are going, like, especially you go down, I think the polyamorous route has challenged us more. I imagine swinging or casual relationships maybe challenge other people more, but for us, the challenge is really like, for us, the swinging, the casual stuff, like that was easy breezy for us. Like there was a little jealousy here and there, and there were frustrations, but it was compared to like navigating, falling in love and the conversations here and new relationship energy and divvying up time and all of these things. As Emma said, like you almost don't have a choice. Like you sink or you swim. You either get to like grow and challenge yourself and evolve and find new ways to do things, or like you're going to kind of get run over. And sometimes both happen at the same time. But yeah, it's, it's a lot of learning new ways to talk to each other, learning new things about yourself, learning better ways to show up for people. There's just an endless list of things. And you're like, even when you think you're like, I'm thinking I'm doing pretty good. And then you wake up and you just kind of get like knocked upside the head by something that came completely out of nowhere. And so I would say like, it definitely keeps you on your toes, but there's definitely an element of like, you feel alive. You're constantly alive. Like you don't get to just hang out and be stagnant.
Coast.
Mhm.
Yeah. Coasting. I don't remember the last time coasting happened.
That sounds a lot like therapy without having to pay for it.
Well, and then you get to add therapy on top of that. And then
Yeah.
and then it's just, extra fun.
Yeah. Okay. So what would you say is the biggest advantage? Well, you sort of already said that. You said some advantages and you said some disadvantages. So Okay, so can you describe your current relationship structure?
We can for sure, but can I jump back in on advantages? Because I
Sure.
would say the advantages are, for me, almost identical. The fact that you're always growing, you're always pushing yourself, you feel alive. I get to watch Emma live her life and really find who she is, coming into that and really seeing each other just sort of be who we want to be who we are. And now there's the added benefit that we have other partners that are long-term committed relationships, and now we get to watch the same thing for them. And so it's not just about us now, it's about these other people in our orbit, and supporting them, and they support us, and it's an ecosystem where we can all love each other, grow together, and try to support each other and being our best selves. And now there's more of that happening. And so,
yeah, I was going to say something very similar for advantages. So I wouldn't have it any other way. And so it's challenging, but it's also so rewarding. And about our current, Finn kind of touched on our current relationship structure, but right now we've been we have explored polyamory over the last year and a half. So we are in relationships with another couple. So I'm in a relationship with another man, and Finn is in a relationship with another woman. They are also married to each other. And so it is a polyamorous quad. However, I do not have a romantic relationship with the other woman, and he does not have a romantic relationship with the other guy. We're friends and good friends, close friends, but that's the structure. Did I miss anything?
The other piece of that is that they live like 2,000 miles from us.
Yes.
So it is a long distance polyamorous quad. Yeah.
Okay, that's interesting.
That's a good way to describe it.
It's just the quad. That's not what you would call it. Okay.
Yeah, polyquad. It's
Okay.
From what we've been told, polyamory on hard mode, and we would agree with that.
We have no
It
frame of
sounds
reference though. So
Yeah.
It's hard enough to make it work when you're in the same town. Yeah. Okay. So can you you mentioned on one of your episodes that your other partners have a child. How has that changed your dynamic at all?
I don't know that it has a whole lot. Like,
Yeah.
we love their
Can you
kid.
hear me?
Yeah.
I think you're frozen. Okay, we may have to restart and come back in because I think you're frozen. Can you hear me?
We can
Yeah,
hear
we
you.
can hear you.
Okay, well, you were frozen and I didn't hear anything. So if you said something, I may have to edit that part out.
Okay.
Yeah, you were frozen there. So if you said something, please say it again.
For sure. I don't think them having a kid has really changed a whole lot. There's a little more logistics to navigate sometimes because in order to really see them, we all have to travel a decent amount. And so there can be logistical things, but
Right.
for kids, for them, it's just more people to love them. And she just loves us to death, and we have a blast, and it's really not been much of an issue other than, like, again, figuring out some logistics and some.
Yeah, logistics is the trickiest part. And I guess we should also say, like, we don't have children. So that also, like, it makes it a little bit easier on our end, but the four of us navigate it and figure it all out.
Okay. So does it make you want to have your own children?
I don't know if I mean, it definitely impacts it for sure. I mean, yeah, we love kids, and we'll see where we go in that journey.
I'm sure the community would love to hear that. That was
right.
Okay. So even though you're polyamorous now, do you still swing, and is that okay with your other partners?
The short answer is no, we do not at the moment. we entered into these relationships and decided to stay a closed quad at the moment. And so like my relationship with my other partner is closed, and Finn's relationship with his other partner is closed, which means that also closes our relationship, me and Finn. However, you know, we'll see what the future brings, and those conversations are ongoing, and I mean, it's new relationships, figuring that all out, polyamory for the first time for all of us, and long distance. And so there's a lot of things to navigate that we're all trying to figure out. Do you have more to add there?
No, I think you kind of nailed it. And it's, again, like Emma said, it's sort of a ongoing conversation. And I think, yeah, it's just sort of getting our feet under us before we add new variables. And so we're not quite ready to turn that heat up yet.
Right. Okay. Well, that makes sense. Okay. So it seems like there's some antagonism, I guess I would put it that way, between swingers and people that call themselves poly, and yet there's a lot of overlap between the two groups. Do you find that people treat you differently in the E&M community if they think you're poly as opposed to thinking that you're a swinger? Do they treat you differently?
I guess for me, I definitely see that sort of the divide that's been there. As we've been kind of going through this, and for the last 4 years been interviewing people, you know, almost 200 people we've interviewed, or probably over 200 people we've interviewed, what we've really started to understand is that at the core, they're not that different, right? There's people who are like, oh, we're poly, but then you find out that they go to swing clubs on the weekends with their partners, and so they do a little bit of that. Or there's people who are like, no, we're swingers, we don't do that poly thing, but I have a boyfriend that I've sort of been dating for the last 2 years. And you're like, okay. And so I think for us, it's a little bit of like, the labels are kind of stupid in a lot of ways. And I know that's just like a very juvenile way to approach it, but like for us, like the label is just a conversation starter. Like, hey, we have an open relationship. Let me tell you what that actually means for us and what that looks like. Because if we were to say, oh, we're swingers, or oh, we're polyamorous, it's easy for people to like create an image in their brain and tell themselves a story. And I think it's just so much more nuanced than that. And we've really seen that over the last couple of years as we talk to people.
Right. Yeah. Labels, I don't really like them, but they're part of the world we live in. And you know, I usually just say, these are the people I'm involved with. That way I don't have to describe it.
Right. Yeah.
So they can draw their own conclusion. But anyway, that's the best way for me. Okay. So how have your families reacted to your lifestyle, or do they even know?
Yes, our families know. It's been a process of conversations and taking time. I would say both of our families, and you can add if you want, but both of our families have been very supportive. Lots of questions, and for me, and lots of like learning and growing and understanding. But they have been supportive, and I'm very thankful for that.
Yeah, great. Mm-hmm. Okay.
We feel very lucky in that realm. I mean, it took us a little bit of time to tell them and everything, but until we were ready, and but it was really good, and I'm very relieved that we made that decision.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Okay. What would you say has been your most awkward moment since getting into this lifestyle?
It's just one giant awkward moment for me.
Oh yeah, for Finn, for sure. There's I mean lots, but one that really stands out to me, that is a quick story I can share, and then you can add one if you want. But maybe 8 years ago, we went to actually let me a little longer than that, maybe like 11 years ago, but we went to a nightclub, and it was just a place to dance and meet open-minded people. And it was a lifestyle or swinger nightclub, though it just wasn't only dancing. And we got there, and we arrived very early because Finn likes to be on time, and I agree. It's good to be on time. We like to be early. And there was
You agree in principle.
we don't need to go down that road. So we show up and there's one other couple there. And so just being friendly, we turn around and just go up and say, like, wanted to say, hi, how are you? How's your night? And they turned around and walked the other way. And it was like, what? Like, both of us stood there just completely shocked. Like, what just happened? Like, we were just trying to say hi. Like, that was it. And we didn't understand why they reacted the way they did. And then we were left there, like, no one else in the club, just like kind of standing there. It felt really awkward. And I mean, there's a lot of other awkward stories. That's just a funny one.
Okay.
Do you have any?
I'll share a high level version of this one, which is this was probably 8 years ago. We had met this couple at a club, or it was like a lifestyle club. We ended up going back to a hotel with them, and we were fooling around with them. And I was with the other woman and Emma was with the other guy. And the guy asked his wife, like, hey, do you want to switch back? Like, he was starting to feel a little insecure or whatever. And she was on top of me, and he was like, well, do you want to switch back? And she was like, no, I'm good. And just like kept going. And I was just like laying there like, well, this is pretty horrible.
Well,
like,
it was really awkward for
I
both
felt
of
so
us.
bad for the other guy, but I don't know what you do in that situation. You just like, do a bucking Bronco move and bounce her off you. I don't know. So I just kind of laid there awkwardly and wished I wasn't there.
Yeah, it was super awkward.
Okay, well that counts as pretty awkward. Okay, let's see. So why don't you tell everybody why you decided to start the podcast in the first place?
Yeah, for sure. So the idea kind of came up a little over 4 years ago. We've been doing this now almost exactly 4 years. And we used to, like, we kind of got a lot of our education through podcasts, through some of like the original, like Life on the Swing Set, Sex is Fun, some of these different podcasts. And then there was a whole bunch that would start coming out. And a lot of them were, a couple or somebody like telling their story. And by this point we had been in like the open sex positive community for 5, 6, 7 years. And so we'd been to sex clubs, we'd done a lot of the things. And so after we sort of met, quote unquote, met the people in their first couple episodes, we would get bored and we would then like try to find the next one, because we just wanted to like hear how many different people do this and how do they do it. And we would always run out, and then we'd have to wait for the next people to launch a podcast. And we were like, why? I kept telling them, I'm like, why isn't there a show where every week we just talk to somebody new and we can hear all of the different stories? And we were like, you know what, let's just make the thing. And so we decided just to make it. And we reached out to a bunch of our friends, and they helped us, the first 10 or 15 episodes were close friends, and then other podcasters. And then it just kind of caught on, and it's grown from there. So yeah, it was just a desire to meet people and hear their stories. That was the original motivation for
it totally was.
Yeah.
Okay, great. Okay, well, let's see, what's the best non-monogamous event you've ever been to?
Event?
Ooh.
Yeah.
I mean,
like if you were recommending to other people, what's the best event to go to? What would you say?
Well, we haven't been to one since before
COVID,
since the before times.
Of
course.
I mean, the biggest game changer for us was the Life on the Swing Set Takes Desire trip. So the podcast Life on the Swing Set does a trip to Desire, which is a resort, clothing optional and lifestyle resort in Mexico. And we went on that in 2016. And it was just a very big game changer for us, because it let us find people that we really clicked with and really got along with. And they didn't live in the same place we lived, and that didn't matter. Like, it was people from everywhere. And so we just really found our tribe there, and that felt really like it was amazing. So that was like the most influential event for us.
Yeah, I
Mhm.
would just build on that really quick and say one of the things I think that made that trip a success for us was, for us, it was always about making friends. And we always found it a struggle. Like if you go to like a traditional hotel party or a nightclub, you've got like 3 hours to find somebody, build some type of a connection, and then try to like take it to the next level if that's your thing. And we never thrived in that environment. But Desire allowed us to like meet friends on Sunday, talk to them on Monday, have lunch with them on Tuesday, and get to like build a rapport over multiple days and build like genuine friendships that, like, some of those friends that we met in 2016, we text with regularly, we see regularly, we travel to see them still, and they've become some of our best friends, and they're scattered all over the world. And so, yeah, I would say that was definitely the biggest game changer for us, without a doubt.
Mhm.
Okay, great. Okay, so these are the listener questions. Some
All
of our
right.
listeners gave us this question, and this first one is a two-part question, but I really think you have to answer the second part first. But anyway, I'll just read the question. How long do you wait till your partner is ready to be comfortable with actively looking, engaging, and involving others in and around your relationship in romantic, sexual, and potentially serious ways? And also, this is the second part, how do you build trust to start that in a relationship where you have this imbalance and there is already a lack of trust?
It's a good question. I'm curious what you think.
Oh man. I mean, yeah. Like the thing that comes to me most is patience. Like that, you can't force someone to be ready. And we've had a lot of conversations with different people that have been in this situation. And, we always encourage them to, try to be patient with your partner and do things in a way that are together. And maybe your first step is just to go to a like a resort or a event and don't do anything but just attend it, and like that's it. And so it's a starting step, and it lets you build that trust that you can that is okay, and like that works, and that even if it doesn't progress any further, it's like that's the baby step, and then like that's okay. It's a hard situation to be in. Let me say that too. It's very challenging. And it takes time and a lot of communication and a lot of patience and a lot of resources and education too. What do you have to add?
Yeah, I think our answers are almost identical. My answer is you wait. The amount of time you wait is the amount of time it takes for your partner to be ready to do that. At the same time, right, if you've identified that this is like a core piece of who you are and what you need, and your partner's never going to get there, and you can't find a way to do this in a way that works for both of you, like, it may mean that that's not the right relationship for you, and that's a really hard thing to like try to sort out. And I'm not saying like, well, you give them 6 months and if they're not on board, you just break up with them. Like, this is an individual, like, everybody's got to assess this for themselves. Like, if I had gone to Emma and said, hey, I think we should explore non-monogamy, and she'd been like, no, I don't want to do that, like, it's not like I would have just broken up with her that day. But you then have to start evaluating, like, is this a thing I really need? How badly is this a thing I need? And am I sacrificing who I am by not going after this? And if you are, then like ultimately you're not going to be happy in that relationship anyway. And so like it's really, I think it's just a long dance between you and your partner of figuring out what works for each of you and how to redefine the relationship that works for both of you. And I will say too, like, in terms of like how long this can take, if you go back to episode 2 of our show, and then they come back on again, I believe episode 62, some of our really close friends, like, he brought up non-monogamy, or she brought it up for 10 years before they did anything. And then it was 3 or 4 years of like swinging, and now they're in polyamorous relationships and really thriving in that. But it's been a 15-year journey, right, for them to get here. And so I guess, as Emma said, like, be prepared to be very patient, have lots of conversations. There's going to be fear. There's going to be, like, it's scary, unless for some, unless your partner is magically sitting there wanting to ask you and you're wanting to ask them, and you just beat them to the punch and you're both like, hallelujah, we've been waiting for this forever. Like, there's a good chance that one or the other of you is gonna get triggered into some type of fear. And I will also say, be prepared. We have seen where, let's example, I go to Emma and say, hey, I want to open our relationship, and she's resistant, and then we do. And then 2 years later, she's loving it. And I'm like, well, hey, this isn't working for me anymore. So there's also, we've seen that where the person who maybe struggled in the beginning really embraces it, and then the roles flip. So there's really not like this is the script to follow. It's a lot of conversations. It's a lot of self-work. I would say therapy.
I was just going to say, I would also
thing.
recommend a sex positive therapist or relationship coach for sure.
Yeah.
Right. Okay. That makes sense. Okay. And another person asked, do you have any resources to help someone figure out what relationship dynamic would best fit them?
I mean, the easiest answer is go listen to our podcast because there's lots of different, like, every episode, somebody does it differently, and there's lots and lots and lots of different examples. And so you could try to find something that resonates for you. But there's also a lot of other resources out there. I'm trying to figure out how to just like start naming them, but.
Well, I mean, exactly like what Emma said, like trying to find that variety, right? So I would say go find Facebook groups.
Yeah.
Those are a great place. There's a lot of online communities. There's like Multiamory podcast has a community. There's a big community out in San Francisco called the Bonobo Network.
We Got a Thing has a community.
Yep. We Got a Thing podcast has a community. And so there's a ton of, like, I would say, try to expose yourself, and not that way, but try to expose yourself to as many different forms as you can. Like Emma said, go to a sex club and just be there with yourself and your partner, and try to talk to people, right? Learn about their relationships, learn how they do it. And I would say, if somebody tells you how to do it, that's probably you probably want to not listen to that, because for somebody to say, well, this is how you do it, there's not. It's different for everybody. And so I would say, try to expose yourself to as many different resources as you can, and don't be afraid to question them. Like, question what you're hearing, dig into it, find what works for you, find your own path, because then there may be nobody who's walked the path before you. Like, what works for you may not be something that anybody's ever done, and that's okay too.
Okay, great advice. Okay, can you tell everybody what resources you have to offer people who join your community?
Sure. So if you listen to our podcast, actually, you don't even have to listen to our podcast. You can still join our community. We have an ongoing chat group in MeWe. So that's the platform we use, but we have an ongoing chat there. There's different channels, and there's a main chat. There's a pets channel and a food channel and that type of thing. That's a lot of fun. We also have a monthly video Q&A. We have an East Coast one and a West Coast one for different time zones. And we actually have people from all over the world joining those Q&As, which is really, really neat. This last week, we just did them, and we had somebody from Australia and some people that were living in China.
And Costa Rica.
We
have people in Korea. We have people all over the world. Yeah.
So it's really cool. And then we also have a men's group and a women's group they have their separate chats, but we also do monthly calls with those groups. So it's a growing community, and it's an incredible community. We've been so just blown away by the people there, and we've learned so much just from everyone as well.
Yeah. And I would, just to add on to that, like, as Emma just kind of said, like, we get a ton of support out of this community. We've made really close friends out of this community, people that we've stayed at their houses as we've traveled around the country. And we see like some of the most amazing support come out of this for people that are going through hard times. And they're like, hey, I had this happen. And 3 other people will be like, well, I did that 2 weeks ago. And so there's just so much camaraderie in there. And so just to also maybe clarify like that, the way to join that is through Patreon, and there's links all over our website, and it's just a couple of bucks a month, and you can stay as long as you want, or you can leave whenever. And if it's not a good fit. So that's one of them. We've got about 205 members right now. The other thing that we've got going is we do virtual meet and greets every month, and those are open to anybody. We do a pay what feels good to you, so you can join for free, or you could pay $1,000 if you want. It's just really whatever feels good to you. Those last about 2 hours, and we do them on Zoom, and we just ask questions and then send people to small breakout rooms and give you, 5 to 10 minutes to talk about the question. We bring you back to the main room, we scramble the rooms, ask a new question, and send you away again. And so it's sort of like a speed dating with some guided questions along the way. And we do those every month. And actually the next one is tomorrow, or I guess today, May 13th, Friday the 13th. So we'll be doing that tonight, and we'd love to have people join us.
Yeah, and we do them every month. I think you said that. So if you missed this month, you can look on our website for the ones going to happen in June.
Yeah.
Okay, great. Sounds wonderful. Okay, well, thanks so much, you guys, for being here. I really appreciate you talking to our little community and our podcast.
Yeah.
Hopefully we'll grow to be as big as you guys someday.
That's the hope. We'll all keep growing. We just got to support each other.
Yeah. Can I add one quick thing, Judy, that I wanted to mention about the men's and women's group?
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
They are also open to people who are transitioning or non-binary. We've had folks join us and check out the men's group and the women's group and say, I feel like I fit here better, or I feel more at home over here. And I will say everybody has been so incredibly welcoming. And afterwards, we've gotten emails that are like, I was worried, but I felt so at home. And so I just wanted to throw that out there for anybody who's like, oh, why does it have to be so binary? Like, we understand, but the groups are really open to anybody. Find where you fit, and you will be welcomed and embraced with open arms by everybody in there. So that's all.
Well, I can vouch for that. I love coming to the groups, and even if I don't have anything to contribute, I just love to listen to everybody's stories.
Yeah.
So
thank you, Judy, and thanks for being part of it.
Yeah, right. Thank you.
So everybody, hope that you got some really great information today from listening to us. And please check out, I'll put in the show notes, all of the links to your website and everything there. But I encourage everyone to visit the Center for Unhindered Living's blog at unhindered-living.com. Join our Facebook page at facebook.com/unhinderedliving. Do you have something to say about this, to contribute to our discussion tonight? Leave a comment. Thanks for listening, and have a great day. Currently, episodes of this podcast can be found on Spotify, Breaker, Google Podcast, Podbean, Apple Podcast, Pocket Casts, Amazon Music, and Radio Public, as well as our YouTube channel. Thanks, you guys, for being here, and bye, everybody. Have a great evening.